Infrastructure plays a major role in the development and growth of any nation. Nigeria is not an exception. But here in the country, infrastructure is a major challenge and has hindered the growth of the country. Here in Abuja, there may be good roads in the city center, proper drainage system, steady power supply, facilities that will make life better for Nigerians. But what is the state of those living in the suburb? Join us on this reality check on the state of infrastructure here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Itogi Mo Edet. Infrastructure is central to sustainable development and economic competitiveness of any nation. Poor infrastructure aggravates the country's unemployment rate. Lack of infrastructure affects every aspect of life. The challenges of infrastructure development in Nigeria are many. However, on this series reality check, we shift our focus to housing infrastructure. The housing deficit is estimated at between 17 to 20 million housing units, increasing annually by 900,000 units, with a potential cost of 6 trillion naira. The major issues that continue to affect housing in Nigeria include constraints related to the high cost of securing and registering secure land title, inadequate access to finance, slow administrative procedures, and the high price of land. It is clear that the mortgage finance industry in Nigeria is still in its infancy, targeting primarily high-income earners and largely excluding middle and low-income earners.
You will find out that infrastructure, at times you hear people complain that I bought a land for 800,000 and I'm being charged 3 million for infrastructure. The truth is, everybody wants to stay in a decent place. So the major factor that makes an individual wants to stay in the particular place, what determines you wanting to stay in a place is the infrastructure, especially the roads. So if the access road in a place is not done, no matter how beautiful that place is, you don't want to stay there.
For the majority of Nigerians, mortgage finance is not an option due to the lack of robust land tenure and financial system, and because loan repayment costs remain too expensive.
It's like one thing is missing here. Is a neglected area by the government. But you see the Buhari Area Council come around to collect the tenement rates and what have you, without doing anything for the people of Pape. You see the bad roads, we are overwhelmed with all these bad refuse. If you go up there, you see heaps of refuse. And we've been crying out. We live in a very bad environment where we face the danger of all kind of life hazards, you can see here.
Behind me here is Pape, a major suburb in the Federal Capital Territory here in Abuja. It is just 5 minutes drive away from here to the highbrow areas where you have a Sokoro and Maitama, but yet it lacks basic facilities like pipe and water, good roads, electricity, and of course the most challenging of all, which is housing. Swarming with people, a noisy atmosphere mixed with stench and smoke. Mpape is a slum perched atop one of the undulating hills in the Federal Capital Territory. It is densely populated. The hilltop urban slum is a few minutes drive on a snaky sloping road from Maitama, Abuja's most luxurious district. Residents of the town live in the shadow of demolition scare. No regular power, no pipe-borne water, roads are nightmares. However, houses are relatively affordable, with a single room going for 60,000–70,000 naira.
If you look at it, some of the structures are so dilapidated. When you get to some places, you imagine whether human beings are there. So these are the things that actually they ought to work in and see how they can be able to make people who are living here more comfortable.
Number one, lights, and number two, no good road. I think when they talk about the light issue and maybe they bring good roads to the society.
As a result of the high cost and limited production of affordable housing in Nigeria, a significant number of its population lived in rented property, which varies from shacks to formal housing with highly speculated rent.
The housing situation is very poor because there's no building plan. This place is even a bit better. If you enter places like Kwari Village or some places in Ajegule, you'll not be happy with the kind of settings you see there. You see some people's houses are just adjacent to some people's windows. you share ventilation. Let me say maybe 2 weeks if you can be sharing used air, no fresh air.
Neither the government nor the private sector provide sufficient housing units, especially for the masses that need and demand it.
And the truth is that Pape, generally, we don't have road. We know about that, but our major complainer is NEPA. The light, the way they are giving us bills these days. Like my house, it's 3 rooms. So 3 rooms, they bring 18,000, sometimes 20. It's too much. So the money you pay for light bill now is more higher than your house rent.
Not possible, never.
Why? Why do you think so?
It's not possible because from the beginning, there was no plan for any building in this Pape. So we living in this Pape alone, by God's grace, because we are suffering.
Formal housing production is at approximately 100,000 units per year, and this is inadequate because at least 1 million units are needed yearly to breach the 17 to 20 million housing deficit by government's target date of 2033.
I want to appeal to the federal government to look into the lives of the people in Pape. We are really facing torture, kind of hazard, environmental hazards.
We have those satellite towns. They don't have access roads. They don't have electricity. They are not planned. So it becomes very, very difficult. So I will encourage government to open up satellite towns by way of creating the infrastructure and then go beyond creating the major infrastructure or the major road going to those places. They should also partner with real estate developers in a manner that when the platform is created for the Nigerians to buy the lands and build at their pace or whatever platform, then government should be ready through the Ministry of Works or the SCT administration to be say, okay, we are going to support this estate by tarring the roads within the estate or creating the infrastructure within the estate. By so doing, once somebody is able to buy a piece of land, he rests, he just goes ahead and builds at his pace. Or when the developer goes ahead and builds the building, he charges the individuals for the buildings alone. It does not include the cost of infrastructure. And then that will also reduce the number of people insisting on staying in the heart of the town.
Rootstv Nigeria visited the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, responsible for providing financial grants to Nigerians to build or own houses of their choice. As it is always the case with public service, we met a brick wall. 2033 is just 14 years away from the government's target for meeting the housing deficit in the country. But for these Nigerians who chose to live in these areas, we'll be praying not to be sacked through demolition by the government. Itogi Moore, edit. Rootstv Nigeria.